Okay, students. So today the topic is about the applications of microbes in the food industry, dairy products, and food preservation. So, as we have been studying that the fermentation process is used for the production of valuable products, which are produced as primary metabolites or secondary metabolites of the microorganisms. So, there are applications of microbes in food industry like food products which are synthesized uh, in the food industry, dairy products like milk products, cheese, yogurt, and others, and food preservation. So, like there are certain um, products of the microbes which, when produced and then isolated and purified, and when added to the food, the normally the canned food, so the canned food becomes preserved for a specific period of time. So there are different applications of microbes in terms of the production of valuable products, which are then used by the food industry within the milk products and for the food preservation as well. So applications of microbes in biotechnology. So biotechnology has applied to food processing in most developing countries make use of microbial inoculants to enhance properties such as the taste, aroma, shelf life, texture, and nutritional value of foods. So here we are talking about the developing countries. So in the developing countries, biotechnology is being used uh, for the improvement of the food products such as the taste. So by adding certain inoculants or the products of the fermentation, the valuable products, so you can increase the taste of the food product. Aroma means like the smell, the fragrance, the smell, not smell, but fragrance of the uh, food product. Shelf life, so when you are adding preservatives which are taken from the microorganisms by the process of fermentation. Texture, that is the appearance of the food products, and nutritional value as well of the food. So nutritional value means that when there are certain amino acids which are produced by the process of fermentation, and then they are being isolated, purified, and then they are added to certain food supplements or food products. So that's how the nutritional value of those food products is increased. Similarly, the taste and aroma, the fragrance of the food, the shelf life, the preservation of the food, and the appearance of the food. So these are all the uh, factors within the food product which are being enhanced, improved by the use of biotechnology. And within biotechnology, actually, you are using uh, microbes for the production of certain valuable products. And as a result of those products, which are when um, isolated and purified and then added to food products. So that is how the biotechnology is being used in food processing in the development. So the process whereby microorganisms and their enzymes bring about these desirable changes in food materials is known as fermentation. So you know that microorganisms actually they are being producing primary metabolites or secondary metabolites. So there are certain enzymes which are also being produced when the microorganisms are growing within the process of fermentation, and they are bringing about some changes into the food materials when those specific compounds are added to the food material. And as a result, for example, if the fermentation product like lactic acid or citric acid or some amino acids, so these are the fermentation products of the microorganisms, and when they are added to the food, so they are bringing about certain changes in within the food quality, within the food appearance, within the food fragrance, and that process is known as fermentation. So that is how the microbes are being used in the field of biotechnology for the added value of the food products. So applications of microbes in food industry. So fermentation processing is also widely applied in the production of microbial cultures, enzymes, flavors, fragrances, food additives, and a range of other high value added products. So as in the previous slide, I said that the flavor of the food products, the fragrance of the food products, food additives or food supplements. So these all are the products, food products, to which, as a result of fermentation, when the certain component of the fermentation product is added to these food products, so as a result of adding those specific value added elements or compounds to that specific food product, that can increase the flavor of the food product, the fragrance. It can be used as a food additive and in other uh, high value products. So these high value products are increasingly produced in more technologically advanced developing countries for use in their food and non-food processing applications. So in the coming slides, you will see that how the developing countries which have advanced technology for the fermentation process and for the purification of the fermentation products, and then adding those products to the food supplements or food products for the enhancement of the flavor or fragrance or uh, improving the quality of the food product. So many of these high value products are also imported by developing countries for use in their food processing applications. So it is also of importance that some of the developed countries, they are producing those high value products as a result of fermentation, as a result of using the microbial cultures, and then those products are being isolated, harvested, purified, and then those purified products are being used by the developing countries in food processing industry. So flavors, amino acids, and sweeteners. So for example, volatile organic chemicals such as flavors and aromas are the sensory principles of many consumer products and govern their acceptance and market success. So if you are taking a food product, mostly the tin food products or the packaged food products, so they have a very specific taste, they have a very specific aroma, and they have a very specific flavor. So that is because of addition of those high value elements or compounds added to that packaged food or tin food as a result of microbial fermentation, and that's why those packaged products, they become very acceptable to the consumer, and their sale is very high. So flavors produced using microorganisms currently compete with those from traditional agriculture sources. So flavor is one of the important sector within the food industry, that a food product has a specific flavor. So that food product gets a specific flavor when that specific flavor is added to that food product, or the flavor of that food product is being enhanced by the addition of flavor enhancers. So that is being carried out with the help of microorganisms which are responsible for enhancing the flavors of the food products. So according to Berger, more than 100 commercial aroma chemicals are derived using biotechnology, either through the screening for overproducers, the elucidation of metabolic pathways and precursors, or through the application of conventional bioengineering. So the flavors, they are actually chemical compounds. So once it has been identified that that specific compound has a flavor uh, property, so then it is being investigated that in which pathway of the microorganism that specific compound is being produced, and then that process is being focused, and during the process of fermentation, the optimization procedure is adopted so that the maximum amount of that specific flavor can be produced during the fermentation process. And then it can be isolated, it can be purified, and then that specific flavor is then added to the food products, so that to increase the value of the food products. So, flavors, amino acids, and sweeteners. So, DNA technologies have also enhanced efficiency in the production of non-nutritive sweeteners such as aspartame and thaumatin. So, these are the non-nutritive, means that these are zero calories sweeteners. So, when you are taking those sweeteners, they give the taste of sweet, but they don't give any calories to the human body. The examples are aspartame and thaumatin, and the DNA technologies have been used for the production of these non-nutritive sweeteners. Market development has been particularly dynamic for the flavor enhancer glutamate, which is produced by the fermentation of sugar sources such as molasses, sucrose, or glucose using high performance strains of Corynebacterium, Glutamicum, and E. coli. So, there are certain bacteria which are used, the strains of certain bacteria which are used for the production of flavor enhancer, for example, the glutamate. And um, the glutamate is being like vastly used in many food products for the enhancement of the flavor. Amino acids produced through biotechnological processes are also of great interest as building blocks for the active ingredients used in a variety of industrial processes. So, amino acids are another class which are actually like the building blocks of proteins, and they are being produced by the process of fermentation by certain microorganisms, and then they are being isolated and purified, and then they are being added to different food products or to different food supplements, and as a result, they become more value added products. So, yeah, food safety issues and concerns in food fermentation processing. So there is a issue that the food which is being produced, the tin food, the packaged food, or the food products, that it is whether it is safe for the use, and during the process of fermentation, so whether there is any contamination happening to the food product. So in that case, microbial activity that plays a central role in food fermentation processes. So that is obvious that when the microbes are growing and they are producing the primary metabolites as secondary metabolites or specific enzymes of interest, so then they are causing the fermentation process, and they are resulting in desirable properties such as improvement in shelf life and quantity attributes such as texture and flavor. So when the process of fermentation is taking place, so as a result of fermentation, there are certain things which are taking place. For example, like flavor enhancement, increase in the shelf life. So that is happening when you are introducing the microbial activity as a process of fermentation in the manipulation of the food products. So pathogenic organisms are, however, of prime concern in fermented food. So when you are producing a fermented food, so you have to be very careful that whether certain microorganisms which are harmful for the human beings, whether they are being introduced into the food product, or is there any contamination. So that is of prime concern. That's very important to check and to like confirm that there are no pathogenic organisms present in that fermented food product. Anti-nutritional factors such as phytates, tannins, protein inhibitors, lectins, saponins, oligosaccharides, and cyanogenic glucosides are naturally occurring components of raw materials commonly used in food fermentations in developing countries. So these are anti-nutritional factors. Why they are called anti-nutritional factors? Because they don't allow the growth of the pathogenic organisms. So they are like present already within the raw material of the food product, and when it is being fermented and it is being produced, so during that process they are these compounds or these factors, they are also being produced or they are also being present, and they are like helping in the uh, lowering the production or stopping the production of pathogenic organisms or other organisms which can cause contamination to the fermented food product, and only allowing the fermentation process which is like benefiting the food product. Right. Food contamination concerns in food fermentation processing. So obviously, like when you are producing a food product which is produced with the help of food fermentation, so there is also a concern, there is also a probability that contamination can also occur in that food product. So the contamination of the fermentation process can pose a major health risk in the final fermented product. So there is a possibility that there is a contamination of other fermented materials within the fermented product. Methodologies for identifying and monitoring the presence of chemicals such as pesticides, residues, heavy metals, trace elements, and biochemical elements such as aflatoxins, hazards in fermented foods are therefore a critical need. So there should be a testing facility available for testing of the uh, fermented food products after it has been produced, to check for certain chemicals, either they are present in it, for example, heavy metals or trace elements, because they can be toxic to the human body if they are being consumed. Similarly, the biochemical uh, elements such as aflatoxins. So during the production of the fermented food product, so then that testing, that methodology for identifying or monitoring, like the quantifying the amount of those um, contaminants present within the fermented food product is important, so that um, when the food is being marketed within the market, so it is being double checked that there are no contaminated materials present or contaminated fermented elements present within the fermented food product. So furthermore, with growing consumer interest in the credence attributes of the products that they consume, and the premium currently being placed on quality linked to the geographical origin, the traceability of foods with selected properties is of increasing importance. So, like mainly in the developed countries, the food products like the packaged food is mainly used, the tin food is used, the fermented food is used mostly. So in that case, the consumer is looking first of all at the quality of the product, then the origin of the raw materials which have been used for the production of that food product, as well as the price of the product. So these are different factors which can range to the which can identify the quality of a good fermented food product, and they have great importance in the marketability of the product as well as the selling of the product. So applications of microbes in dairy food products and preservation. So dairy food products like the milk products, and as well as their preservation so that they can be kept for a small or large period of time. So lactic acid is one of the examples which is used in yogurt, which is a product of milk. Sauerkraut, that is one of the um, products which is made up of cabbage, and so in that case the lactic acid is also used. Kimchi, which is made from vegetables, so in that case the lactic acid used. And in salami, which is semi-cooked product of meat, or you can say that it is like edible product of meat which is prepared by the use of lactic acid. So lactic acid is first produced by the process of fermentation, and then it is being isolated and purified, and then it is being further used in different food products for their value added food products production. Lactobacillus streptococcus and leuconostoc bacteria metabolize sugars in the substrate and produce lactic acid. So these are like different genera of bacteria which metabolize sugar. So it means that they are working on the substrate which is sugar, and as a result the product which is produced is lactic acid. So as a result of production of lactic acid uh, and the introduction of lactic acid into different food products, what is lactic acid is doing is it is lowering the pH and inhibits the growth of other bacteria, so preserves the food. So when it is lowering the pH, it means that it is keeping the pH in the acidic environment within the food material, and also it inhibits, stops the growth of other bacteria. So as a result, the food is preserved, it remains in the same form for a certain period of time. And lactic acid, it also alters the consistency, texture, and flavor by coagulating proteins. So consistency means that if a food product is solid, so it remains solid for a certain period of time. It If a food product is semi-solid, so it remains semi-solid for a certain period of time. Texture is the appearance of the food product, whether it is smooth, rough, or like granular or whatever. And flavor, so that is being altered uh, by the lactic acid uh, by the help of coagulating proteins. So these are some of the like applications of microbes which are producing lactic acid, and then in dairy food products as well as preservation. So applications of amino acids in food industry. So in food industry, when you are talking about amino acids, they are very important. They are the building blocks of proteins. So many are used in the food and beverage industries to, first of all, enhance flavors. So glutamic acid is used to make sodium glutamate, which is normally I think called China salt. So yeah, so that is being added, and you can see that when, for example, in chicken soups or others like soupy materials, when you are adding the sodium glutamate, so it enhances the taste of that product. And so some of the amino acids are used as antioxidants like cysteine, L-tryptophan, and L-histidine, and antioxidants are very good for the health of the human beings. As sweeteners, for example, aspartame, it is made from aspartic acid and phenylalanine, and proline is used in cosmetics. So there are like different applications of amino acids which are produced by the process of fermentation, microbial fermentation in food industry. Vitamins produced by microbes. So there are certain vitamins which are also produced by microbes. Many vitamins can be obtained from microorganisms, but the most commercially cost productive are vitamin B12, thiamine, riboflavin, and ascorbic acid. So commercially cost productive means that the cost on producing those microorganisms, or sorry, those vitamins, and then isolating them and purifying is cheap, right? So the cost and then the sale, they match up, and there is a like factor of profit as well within those production areas. So bacteria of genera Bacillus, Streptomyces, Pseudomonas, and Propioniae are grown on substrates such as glucose or methanol. The latter two bacteria, which are Pseudomonas and Propioniae, um, under anaerobic conditions to produce these vitamins. So, like there are certain bacteria which, when working on certain substrates such as glucose or methanol, so under the absence of oxygen, they can produce certain vitamins like vitamin B12, thiamine, riboflavin, and ascorbic acid, and then through the whole process of fermentation, of harvesting, and then isolating, and then purifying the product, so the vitamins can be isolated and purified, and then they can be used in different food products or different food supplements. Right, so enzymes produced by microbes and their uses. So there are certain enzymes which are produced by microbes during the process of fermentation, and then they are being utilized in certain important ways. So microbial rennin has replaced calf rennin for cheese making since the mid 1960s. So microbial rennin is an enzyme which is very important when you are making cheese. And before 1960s, it was being obtained from the calf, and now it is being taken from the microbes by the process of fermentation. Similarly, there are lipases and proteases. They are used in washing powders. These are also enzymes which are produced by certain microbes. Glucose isomerase is used in the production of fructose, and pectinases, they are used in fruit juice extraction process. So these are different enzymes which are used in different products, either food or other. Many enzymes are used in the paper, textile, and animal feed production industries. So in the paper industry, in the textile industry, and in the animal feed production industry, there are certain enzymes which are used, which are produced by the process of microbial fermentation. And streptokinase is a clot buster, and glucose oxidase is used by diabetics in biosensors to measure blood glucose levels. So you can see that there are enzymes which have very important role, and they are produced by the microbes by the process of fermentation, and then they can be utilized for different important uh, functions. Citric acid by microbes and uses. So this is a primary metabolite used in the food and drinks industry as a flavor enhancer for marmalade, fruit juice, and ice cream. So I think that is pretty simple. You can understand what is being said. The pharmaceutical industries, it is used to preserve stored blood, tablets, and ointments. So it is also used as a preservative in the medicinal industry to store tablets and ointments for a certain period of time. And it is also used in cosmetics as an anti-foaming agent and to soften textiles. So anti-foaming agents means that when citric acid is added to the cosmetic product, so the product will not form foam, like it will not swell up, or it will it will have an anti-foaming ability. And as well as the citric acid is used to soften textile in the textile industry. So microbes in food products, some bacteria produce single cell protein from methanol, methane, or diesel oil, which can be added to animal feed. So single cell protein means that a cell that is producing uh, protein, and that is a single cell. So that is the ability of certain bacteria that which can produce those single cell proteins, and then that single cell protein that can be added to the animal feed, which is very like becomes a very value added product. It is a protein, and then it can be utilized by the animals. Marmite is made from hydrolyzing spent yeast. So that is one of the like marmite is a type of yeast. So that is made from hydrolyzing spent yeast, which is a yeast. Spirulina, a type of cyanobacteria, is eaten in parts of Africa. So that is a type of food which is being utilized, and actually it is a cyanobacteria, which is very highly nutritive, and it is good for the human body. Corn is a mycoprotein made from Fusarium venenatum. This is made during aerobic fermentation and is high in both protein and dietary fiber while low in saturated fat. So that is a good thing that it is low in saturated fat. However, it is low in iron and maybe high in purines derived from nucleic acids. So thought by some to increase risk of gout. So again, there are certain microbes or like certain uh, yeasts which are being directly used in food products, or they are themselves being used as a food product. So this is the fermentation, and if we start from the right hand side, so it is an industrial fermenter which is illustrating the construction and facilities for aeration and process control. So first of all, you can see that there's a motor in the middle, which is kind of like used for the uh, purpose of stirring, mixing of the cultures. Then you have a pH controller, and then you have within the pH controller you have acid base reservoir and pump. So that is for maintaining the pH of the fermentation tank at a certain range. Then you have an exhaust, which is like taking out uh, different gases from the fermentation tank, which are being produced during the growth of the microorganisms. Then you have cooling water out and cooling water in. So that cooling jacket is for maintaining a specific temperature of the fermentation process. Then you have culture broth. So that is like the culture, the medium, the inoculum, the microorganism which are present within the culture broth, and they are being growing and producing the specific primary metabolites or secondary metabolites of interest. Then you have sparger air bubbles. So the sterile air means that which is not contaminated but pure air that is being going through the fermentation tank with the help of these sparger air bubbles. And when the fermentation process is aerobic, so then the sterile air is going through this way. And then at the bottom, center bottom, you have harvest. So when the fermentation process has completed in a week or two, so then the harvestation process is taking place. And then on the left bottom side, you have steam. So steam is being introduced uh, by this way. Cooling water in on the left hand side, so that is again for maintaining the temperature. Cooling jacket is the like passage, the area where the water is traveling. Then you have impeller. So these are types of like stirrers which are mixing the culture broth and causing the aeration, as well as like maintaining the slow and steady uh, regulation of the culture broth. And then you have the steam which is entering inside the fermentation tank, and you have a sterile steel which is uh, making sure that there is no contamination, there is no entry of any other microorganism or any other material into the fermentation tank. So this was all about like the applications of microbes in food products and dairy products, as well as the preservation factor. So yeah, give me feedback. I will upload this lecture on YouTube, and if you have any question, then you can ask me on WhatsApp or uh, comment me on the YouTube, um, and give me feedback as well. and I will upload the PowerPoint of this lecture on the KCMS, so you can download the PowerPoint presentation from there and listen to these lectures when you have headphones so that you can focus on and you can clearly understand. And if you are unable to understand, so try to listen those sections again and again, and then you'll able to understand them. So yeah, good luck and have fun. Thank you.